Kevin.
Wow. What?
You get this only nowhere else but the Kevin and Zach. Kevin, I'm not going to lie.
Now we're not look at this. A carved penguin. There it is.
Oh no. Are the O's fine? Are the Orioles fine, Kevin?
I was so embarrassed.
Okay. The Orioles stole it. That game was stolen. It was stolen from them, then they stole it right back.
What?
Oh my God.
Wait, what's going on? What is happening?
What is going? Was it a diving play? He bobbled the ball.
What is happening? Are they challenging it? No. Other wall. No.
Kevin, I don't know what you saw, how much you saw. I've been chugging champagne. Sure, I spilled a lot, but what a game, man.
He will be the legendary
Birdfish.
How about that?
Birdfish fans, stand up. We did it.
What can I say? What can I say?
All right, so that didn't work. All right, so Brandon Hyde firing didn't work. Back to the drawing board. I mean, they won if you take out the first inning. Like, if you take out Kyle Gibson's contributions, like if you take out Kyle Gibson, like like we fired our manager, like we are totally for moral victories at this point. I don't know if you guys are also on that train, but like I am 15-29. I'm kind of looking towards moral victories at this point. I mean, I don't know what kind of other victories we really have to look forward to. I don't know the exact number of how many. It's like 14 of their last 16 they've lost, something like that. I'll just say it. Lost my cool for a second. I did. I don't know where it is. After Morton or Gibson gave up, I think it was the sixth run in the inning. Tore up my O's are fine shirt. Just kind of that hand up. That was me. That's on me. Hand up. Lost my cool for a second. Wasn't the greatest. But yeah, that was a tough one. Kyle Gibson gets through 2/3 of an inning, 6 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, 47 pitches. I think it took him 40 pitches to get his first. It took him 40 pitches to get his first out. I saw, I think it was AJ saying it. If we want to talk about legitimately one-ups, like the, hey, MVP of this game, it's Charlie Morton. Didn't think I'd ever say those words, but if I'm going to one-up for this game, it's Charlie Morton. 4 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. Charlie Morton dealt. Okay, Charlie. Okay, there's some value. You do that, there's some value. So, unfortunately, though, that was after Kyle Gibson goes the 2/3 of an inning, 6 runs. Sanel Perez, all 8 batters he's faced, he retired, 3 strikeouts. I want to say, if he can do this down the stretch, I don't know if it's going to matter because, I don't know how competitive they're going to be down the stretch. But seeing Perez do that was a very welcome sign. Yennier Cano, the 1 earned run, and then you had Dominguez giving up the 2 earned runs. Like I said, besides Gibson, really liked what Morton did, really liked what Perez did. So if you want to combine Perez and Morton for 7 innings of what would that be? 1 earned run, 2 hits. Those middle guys, the guys that bridged Gibson to Cano, lights out. Morton and Perez, lights out today. That was cool. If we go through the lineup, Jackson Holliday, that 9th inning, 3-run homer. I mean, this kid, I wish we were doing something with it. Like Jackson Holliday, when we were talking off season, we kept saying over and over and over and over again, we're like, hey, it's this young core that's going to make the difference. So what does that mean when we're talking about it's the young core making the difference? Saying like with young, you wanted Jackson Holliday to take that step. You know, Jackson Holliday taking that step was something we repeatedly said over and over. If this team wanted to be successful, they needed Jackson to do, quite frankly, exactly what he's been doing for the past 25 games, 30 games at this point, it feels like. So, I mean, Jackson is doing everything you would have asked from him. Ryan O'Hearn goes 0 for 4. He's obviously been good throughout the season. Gunnar with the 1 for 5. Adley 1 for 4 at the double. Seti 0 for 4. Urias 1 for 4. Kersted 2 for 4, which is nice to see. Ramon Laureano continues to be probably the most consistent hitter on this team, which is super funny. Maverick Handley then the 0 for 2. I mean, 6 runs. It feels the game was closer than it looks because obviously you get the what was it total 4 runs in the 9th to make it look semi-competitive. It was a 10-2 game going into the 9th. The 10-6 makes it look cooler, but at the end of the day, I don't know what more competitiveness. I don't know if they necessarily showed that. Not a great time from Tony Manzolino's first game managing. I don't think if you would have asked him what his first game would be like, I don't think he would have said he would be getting the pitcher after 2/3 of an inning. But here we are. Wanted to go over some chats. Suggestion: don't start Charlie Morton. Use a reliever first, then second on Charlie Morton. Seems to boost his confidence. Can we lean house fully, not just Hyde? Yeah, can we clean house fully? I don't think they're cleaning house fully just right now. Quite honestly, I just don't think that's the way to go. Because you need some. I mean, mid-season, it's so hard to clear house. Like maybe this offseason, I think they clear the entire. I don't think anyone besides maybe if they stick and decide to give Buck Britton the shot. You know, if they interview him and he's the guy that they decide, then maybe you don't clear house completely. But besides that, I think they clear house. Walter saying Hyde being fired is only the first step to a fix. The rest of 2025 is about our core taking steps forward. Then hope Elias learned from his mistakes and has a better off season this year. I agree. Which sucks. It does suck because the rest of 2025 isn't necessarily about wins anymore. It's about trying to get moral victories. And it sucks that we're on May 17th and we're saying that after we just fired our manager, that we're sitting here and we have to take in the Jackson Holiday going 2 for 5. And yes, Kevin, I can send you the link. Going to be a little bit of a shorter one as me and Kevin are both kind of on the run right now. So just sent that to Kevin. But I agree, Walter. It's to the point where, unfortunately, I hate that we're doing this, but we're doing moral victories now. 14 games under 500 on May 17th. It sucks. Going first on to Kevin Ostreicher. Kevin, I guess first we should say, Brandon, I got fired.
It's true. I didn't get. I slept through it. Literally, I was
I
not
don't know
awake.
if you saw the stream, but we literally tried to call you on stream 3 times.
I saw all of your missed calls, and I didn't even see any other notifications first besides yours. Like yours were the first I saw, and I knew exactly what happened before I even checked anything. And I thought, of course, this is the day that this happens. So
I mean, of
yeah,
course, then it's the day that you finally get to sleep in a little bit. That's when they're going to make the breaking news.
I know. It always feels like that happens to me, but it was a necessary move. I know that you talked about it. Ryan's talked about it. Obviously, there are a lot more deep-rooted issues with this team than that, and I mean, you saw that again today. You would hope that this would provide some level of a spark, and I think like the ninth inning, that was a good spark. But the problem is your pitching staff gave up 10 runs, and you couldn't have that happen in a 5-2 game or 5-3 game. It ends up happening in a game that the Nats have 10 runs in. So look, it's disappointing, especially because the Nats aren't a team that this is your month. It was. I mean, I think it's officially over for them for this month.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't think they're going to do the whole comeback by end of May.
I mean, what's their record? They've won, 3 games in May? 4 games in May?
Yeah, something like that.
It's
It's
tough
horrible.
because now you're 14 games under 500. Like we've talked about, you have to start sweeping teams. And one day the offense is great. The next day the pitching staff is great. The problem is the other parts of the team are bad. And it looks more and more like they're just going to have to be sellers because I think you have too many guys hitting free agency this offseason, between Mullins, O'Hearn, Eflin, Sagano, that list goes on.
Oh, yeah.
I think you have to get something here. And it just feels like I've seen stats and win pace metrics of the Orioles would have to play at a 92 win pace to even get just a little bit over 500. It doesn't seem realistic for this version of this team. And, they had to do something. Hyde and Cousins being fired, yes, that's something that Zach, you and I have been mentioning for a while here, but I don't think it shouldn't stop there. I'm not talking about firings. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do about the hitting coaches or the other pieces of their staff, but I think the biggest question mark now becomes, and I know this doesn't really have anything to do with the game today, but I think the biggest question now becomes, we've both said that Elias is going to get another crack at it here. But how much confidence do you have at him managing this 2025 deadline and managing the 2025/2026 offseason for the Orioles, considering what we saw? He takes accountability. He understands that, hey, it's not working. But as we've talked about, it doesn't take away what's already been put out on the field, the performances. And has he learned his lesson? Or is it just going to be more of the same? We don't know the answer to that question. And it's kind of, it's scary a little bit thinking about whatever manager comes in is probably going to be Elias picked. You said it on the stream. Mancelino's not the long-term option for them. It is a manager. At least I would hope not. And
No, can't be.
You have to then figure out if Elias is moved on from at the end of next year or 2 years from now, and that manager was picked by him, what does the new guy that comes in says? Maybe Elias can turn it around, but it's just there's so many different things that's wrong with this team right now. And you could tell that the locker room was kind of shaken up by the news. As I've said and as you've said, it wasn't all on Brandon Hyde. If you think that Brandon Hyde was 100% a part of the lineup decisions, I mean, I think we can all kind of say this was not true. It was an organizational effort to go analytics and put this stuff out. And am I saying Hyde was the perfect? Of course not. Hyde wasn't the guy for this team. But just because one guy or two guys get canned doesn't mean all of a sudden your season turns around. It happens, but it's very rare. And if you have too many deep-rooted issues like this team has, it's not going to be the thing that saves your season, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This move is not going to be – this doesn't change the season. We don't start 0-0. They've dug the hole. I don't think Mancelino's the future of the managerial position. So now we're kind of in that awkward phase of, like you said, Kevin, okay, the next guy's coming in. Elias is clearly going to pick the next guy, but not only is he going to pick the next guy, he's still building this team as well. So he's still going to be, is he now trading for prospects? We now have to look at the trade deadline. It looks a lot different. Now it's Sagano, Eflin, those guys. Do they move from the extension talks, the Setties, to the trade talk? I mean, now all of a sudden I feel like with firing your manager, it brings some sort of obviously different vibe change, but it also brings a whole lot more questions because now it feels like you are very much open to this season's not totally about winning. They're trying to see, they're moving in a different direction. And if they don't change it around fast, and I mean, I can't even say even if they change it around fast, I'm not sure what the Orioles' future holds with, their direction right now. That's, I think, what's the scariest part is you don't know what direction they're going in because all we've seen is if they are going to, sell at the deadline is potentially 2 rebuilds in 6 years? And that's not what this fan base wants to see. It's not what anyone wants to see.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember when they moved off of, Machado and Scope and Gosman and Britton and, all these guys. And if we're being completely honest, that there weren't really great returns on a lot of those deals for the Orioles. I mean, you got a couple of solid pieces out of it, but I mean, you get guys like Kramer, Tate did Tate didn't really do a bunch for them, but there weren't a ton of headliner prospects out of those deals that actually contributed to Baltimore. It really was people were banking on Diaz and the Machado deal, and that didn't work. I mean, Tate was an intriguing prospect. Yeah, sure, he was up for a little bit, but I mean, he wasn't a shutdown reliever by any stretch of the imagination. You had a lot of guys, and I think what makes it sting, and I see people talking about it, whether it's with Stowers or Norby or Hayes or some of these other guys, is that they're flourishing elsewhere. And it's not everyone. Burns is now back to doing Burns things. I know Tony's kind of had a rough go of it, but as we've kind of said, Tony takes some time to heat up. So it's just
he'll be batting 220 with 25 jacks by the end of July.
And again, it's not that the Orioles were going to have we knew that they needed to move off of Stowers and Norby if they weren't going to get consistent playing time. It was just who they traded him for, right? A guy that has what is it now, a 7.50 ERA in AAA, and is probably, just being honest, probably not going to make any impact for the Orioles during his time in Baltimore. And you trade off 2 guys that, again, probably weren't going to get time unless they really made a commitment to them. But it's just a matter of using your farm system to your advantage, and that's something that we haven't really see Baltimore do outside of the Corbin Burns deal and a couple of those other smaller ones. The best trade of their deadline was Eflin, and they didn't move off of any high-end, proven prospects for an Eflin. So it's not like Elias can't make deals. It's just that I feel like sometimes those deals can go a little bit overboard, and he says, all right, we got to go here, and you just kind of group up a group of 10, 15 prospects, and now you head into this deadline with not a lot of wiggle room, and not that they should be buyers right now by any sense, but if you have to build up that farm system, what's a return for Seti look like? What's a return for O'Hearn look like? Do they even get top 10?
Because they're not going to get top 100 guys. They're going to get guys that you need to develop. They're going to get guys that you need to develop. It's not like you're going to get a top 10 guy in baseball for Cedric Mullins, for Ryan O'Hearn. Even if you package the guys, you're going to have to get guys that you're going to have to turn into good ball players. So it's not just as simple as, okay, sell these guys, you get a lot of good young players, and in 2 years we'll be great again. You have to develop these guys.
Yeah. And
I think that's the issue as well, is it's not always a proven commodity.
It's not like they're going to get nothing for these guys, obviously, because those types of players will be very valuable pieces to contenders that are looking to make a push. Obviously, Seti defensively, O'Hearn can mash the ball. We know that. I don't know. It just becomes a question of how big of a teardown does it look like, and who do they want, and honestly, what's their plan? Because again, it's not like we can say, oh, Gunner's locked in for the next 10 years or Jackson's locked in for the next 11 years. There's nobody locked in. Nobody's locked in right now. So they're going to either have to make decisions in the next 2, 3, 4 years on those guys, or we're just going to have another situation like Machado where he's just not going to resign and you're going to have to deal him for something and just get some value out of him. And I don't want to go down that path again. Like, Gunnar should be a lifetime Oriole. Jackson should be a lifetime Oriole. You know, you're going to have to make decisions on Adley and Westberg and Grayson and all of those guys. But just giving the fan base something to look forward to and not just be like, well, what does the future hold in the next 2 years? You know, is this going to be a soft rebuild, get prospects, then move those guys for guys
A retool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's good word. Retool. Is that what we're looking at? Or is it more of we're really going to just take a lot of guys to develop, but that doesn't line up with the window because by the time those guys are ready, you know, Gunnar will be 20, like he'll be like 27, 28, 29. But then you're going to have to go through the whole, let these guys acclimate to the MLB. And then by that time, like, you don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know what the retool, tear down, rebuild, whatever that looks like. Do they want to trade everybody who's a free agent? Or do they want to bring back an Eflin or bring back a Sagano or bring back a Mullins and say, we're just going to go for it next season? I think you have to get some value for this roster, though, because 14 games under 500. I mean, did the White Sox win today? Do you know, Zach? Did they win today? Because if they did, they're tied in wins with the White Sox.
No, they didn't. Whoop, whoop.
Okay, all right. So Orioles were still better than the White Sox by one game or by one win. But that's just it's just a sad way for this season to go after so much hope. And again, like we could have all told you how this was going to go pitching staff wise if Grayson didn't stay healthy. You know, it's not the surprise here. It's that the offense has been as bad as it has. And while they showed life in the ninth inning, I mean, you had 8 other innings. Well, I guess, you had a little bit of life earlier in the game. But, like, you had a lot of other innings to show you something. And it just feels like, that game felt like it was over after the first 4 batters of the game. Oh, goodbye, Zach. But after the first 4 batters of the game, it felt like that game was over. So it's where we are right now, unfortunately. And, just giving guys opportunities that, quite frankly, should have never been there in the first place. And it's not a fault to Morton. It's not a fault to Gibson. Like, yeah, they've been bad. But, again, these guys should not be on this team in the first place. $15 million should not have been offered to Charlie Morton in the first place. The opportunity to come up and be a major contributor on the staff should not have been on the table for Kyle Gibson. And I don't.
And obviously injuries happen. That's the thing. Injuries happen, but there's also a thing of being prepared for injuries and your preparation not being 2 guys that, Kevin, both have come out and blatantly said, yeah, I was pretty much going to retire before the Orioles called me. Like, they try, get someone, go make a Jose Quintana deal for $4 million, and now he's pitching with I checked last week, it was like a 2.94. Go get a guy that a Nick Pivetta. You don't have to go always. And Kevin, I'll give it to you. You called it, but Kevin, you don't always have to get a guy who it's like, oh, he's the we got the veteran. Like, there's the difference between veterans and, okay, is he the next player coach? Like, do we know the difference of, hey, how old is
who?
Buck Britton's 39. We're signing Charlie Morton, who's older than our coaches. Like,
yeah.
Our option was signing guys who's our quote unquote manager in training. The heir apparent is we got guys older than him.
Yeah, it's a sad reality, and I feel like after last season, where we saw all those arms go down, and you had to get major contributions from guys, then by the time the season was winding down, you're in that stretch run and they barely have any arms to hold the rotation together. It just felt like the message was, we're just going to sign all of these arms, get as much depth as we can, but it doesn't matter what the depth looks like. And, you can have a lot of arms. Like, having arms is good. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it does matter who you bring in. And if you're signing 36, like again, one or two max, like Sagano, Gibson, Morton, like those guys would have been fine is like break glass in case of emergency options. But you knew that with losing Burns and not really replacing him in the rotation, your rotation would have to stay pretty much fully healthy for the entirety of the year to have guys that are 36, 41, play the role that they're supposed to play. And I mean, shout out to Tomo for stepping up and essentially having to be the ace of this squad for the majority of the season. That wasn't his intended role, and he stepped into it. But the fact that they are having these guys needing to come out there and perform. And look, Charlie's been better over the last like 10 innings, right? 10 and a third, whatever it is. He's been better. But, you know, it's the fact that he couldn't stay in the rotation. They've had to move guys around, and, you know, the injuries don't help, but every team deals with it. Like, I'm not using that as an excuse. So there has to be
guys. I'm looking right now. Obviously, these guys are 33, 34, but Michael Lorenzen and who else was I just looking at? And Andrew Heaney both have ERAs in low 3, high 2s, both $7 million or less, 1-year deals. You didn't have to spend $15 million on Charlie Morton. I think that's the thing. It's like, it's one thing to go and be like, okay, we're preparing with depth and everything. It's another thing to be like, our 41-year-old is going out there. Like, I just, that's where I think it really, they lost, I'll say it, they lost the plot. Like, they were like, we're getting a bunch of depth, and everyone's like, okay, that's smart. Like, that's smart. Like, you know, we got some injuries, like, smart, build up depth. They're like, we're getting starting pitching depth, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And they're like, maybe some back end guys, and people are like, yeah. Then they're like, we're getting 41-year-old Charlie Morton and 36-year-old Kyle Gibson out of retirement. And everyone's like, wait, why didn't we get some like maybe a little bit other depth?
Yeah, and
it was more potential.
I think
we lost the plot a little bit along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is maybe they were like anticipating like Bradish coming back and him getting his spot back in the rotation, and like being able to say, oh, well, Morton's going to retire next year anyway, Sagano's going to retire, or it's going to be a 1-year stopgap thing. And it just kind of felt like they were being cute with how they did it in terms of like, oh, well, we're trying to get these guys in, that it's going to be a perfect transition once Bradish comes back to not have it be super complicated with our rotation. When in reality, is a couple guys you mentioned there were just other opportunities to go get a guy that could help you win this season. Again, it's just the more this goes on, the more it feels like they're punting. And while the Hyde firing does show that, like, okay, we're not content with how things are going, we're going to try to shake it up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot more that has to be done here. And, you know, at this point, like, the whole staff is probably going to be gone after the season. They're going to completely revamp with whoever comes in as the next manager. And that sucks for guys
I said
like
the
Buck
only
Britton
reason
and
is,
others.
I was going to say, the only way I see it is if Buck nails his interview and they pick him. You know, that's the only way. And also, Kevin, I'll say it. Talk about a guy I wish we had right now is Freddie Gonzalez. Wish we still had Freddie, because he'd be the manager right now. I'd feel a lot better about him, just the way he goes.
Yeah, that's. I think if they still had Freddie Gonzalez, Hyde would have been fired 2 weeks ago. I think they were just trying to salvage any little thing they could. But again, there are a lot of indefensible games where guys there should have been a change somewhere. And I think that after what we saw last night, that's kind of what happens. But again, this is a young group that's going through this for the first time. Like, you could sense even in the interviews, like the videos that were being put on social media, like they are kind of like they're kind of messed up right now. Yeah, they're messed up.
Adley was crying.
You know, it shows that, you know, probably two things. I think the messaging probably could have, like, I still think the messaging was growing stale, but it doesn't mean that they didn't like him. Like, I don't think that it got to the point where Hyde lost the locker room from a oh, we hate this guy perspective. I don't think that's true. I think that the messaging probably was it was going on deaf ears, and I just think honestly what Hyde was saying publicly just got like too crazy on, like, saying some of that stuff publicly was wild, what he was saying, and you just can't really defend that. And he was getting tired. I mean, he was getting exhausted too, and it's certainly not all on his plate. Did he have a role to play? Absolutely. He was great during he was the steward of the rebuild, and I think he did a great job doing it. But
exactly right. Good. I think so. I forget who said, but he said he's a good manager, but he's not the right manager for us. He's a good manager for a rebuild. He knows how to motivate. He knows how to get the most out of those young developing players. I don't think he was the guy for these the successful years. Kevin, I just put the link in Colin. We're going for call-ins. We're going to do call-ins a little quicker today because I know we both got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Enjoy our Saturday. So quick call-ins today before we head on out of here. Come give us your opinion on Hyde being fired, just the game. Jackson Holiday is that guy,
He's
So
that guy.
let's go on. We got our first guy. We got AJ. AJ, how we feeling?
I want to call in for a win one fucking time.
Too bad. Too bad. You think that's no. Too bad. No.
I get to call in for moral victories now. Like
Jackson Holiday.
If that's a win. That's a win right there.
I'm going to say, and people aren't going to want to hear it, this team doesn't rally like that in the 9th under Hyde. I've not seen that once out of them. We win this. I understand and I hate if it wasn't for this, then that. But this was an okay game. Granted, I didn't see anything after the 5th inning until the 9th. I woke up late. I skipped from the 5th inning to the 9th inning.
Yeah, okay, so you missed the really bad part of it. Don't trust me, the first inning was as demoralizing as it's been.
No, I saw the first inning.
Oh, you just
I saw 1st through 5th, and then I skipped 5th to the 9th.
Oh, okay.
It was awful. It was an actual joke. I mean, you don't even make it to 40-something pitches. You don't get an out.
Yeah.
At that point, go up there like a position player and just ephus it in. That gives up less runs.
It genuinely that was it. That was one of those impressive things where you just felt like you were okay. I was just find something. It was literally I'll take a 400-foot fly out at this point. Just find a way to get an out.
And then there's also the thing of Morton is looking much better in the bullpen. Some people want him move him back into the starting job, move Gibson into the bullpen. I don't know. There's some guys that they just perform better in the bullpen. I like the idea of Charlie just you can start a Keegan Aiken and then you can run Charlie out to do the long man thing. But the thing with Charlie versus Gibson is we all hated watching Charlie in the starting job, but his stuff was never the problem. Morton still has really good stuff. He's throwing 97 with really sharp breaking balls. He was just locating them in the wrong spot. Gibson's stuff is just okay. It's not gonna blow anybody.
I don't think either of them really got it anymore. That's just the issue. But I guess that's what you get when you got 41-year-old. What was that?
We're spending $23 million between the two of them.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah.
Orioles magic. But
Orioles
I wish
magic.
I had the best. I think we got to remember Brandon Hyde helped rebuild this team. He had to go. I understand players are upset. You can't start the way you did and finish the way you did last year and not see a managerial firing like this. The writing has been on the wall for almost a season now, but does still suck. I understand the players really liked him. Some people were saying they're soft for being upset about him, but players are human. They're young guys. We have one of the younger teams in baseball. They're allowed to be upset, but
I agree.
Hopefully, can turn us around a little bit. At least something. The Orioles did immediately remind us that Hyde wasn't the one throwing pitches.
Exactly. Which was a nice reminder of, hey, there are a lot more issues with this team than just who was making the calls. AJ, appreciate you as always, my friend. And hopefully one day you'll get in here after a win.
I get to call in for a win. It'll happen at 3 in the morning. I'm not awake.
Exactly. AJ, appreciate you, my friend. We'll catch you next time. Next up, we got Steven. How are we feeling?
At least we saw some life at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's about the little things right now.
And they were trying. There was something there. But Hyde needed to go. Honestly, I think Elias got the word from the top. I don't think it was his initial choice, because he initially gave him his seal of approval a week ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Rubenstein's giving him a short leash now. I
And
hope
which
it
would
is.
make sense.
Yeah.
You know,
There has to be a fire sale of people that are free agents at the end of the year. We need to start trading for people, get some people, some of them hopefully that are MLB ready. That way we can plug them in. We need to start bringing in people from Norfolk, try them out just to see, because there needs to be a spark. And yeah, so even bring up Basayo at this point, you know.
Yeah, I think I will say I was very much on the Basayo's not going to be seen here until late
Later.
August, September. If he's ready in July at this point,
Put him in as a DH for Christ's sake, you know.
Yeah, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to
Get
lose?
him his stuff.
Get him into the swing of the season. That way he can at least show us what he's got. And that way
and then he can hit the ground running next year.
Or if they don't want it, or if they don't like what he sees, they can trade him later. You know, one of those things.
Exactly. You know, always thinking 2 steps ahead.
Exactly. And you know, I think about these things. It's like I've been here. Well, I've been a long time Orioles fan from like the '80s, so I was here during the bad years, really bad years after the World Series win. So, you know, I've seen it before.
Oh yeah, Steven, appreciate you calling in as always, my friend. We'll see you next time. Awesome. Heading now, we go into Arkansas. Go. How are we feeling?
Okay. I had a late night. I woke up early, but then I woke up again and it was noon. I look at my phone. I have a text from my dad. It says, "Bye-bye, Brandon." I'm like, what the fuck did I sleep through? Then I noticed that Brandon Hyde was fired. I'm like, okay. After last night, leaving the bases loaded, I mean, when you have almost triple the amount of hits of the other team, and you lose by 1 run, that's just not good baseball.
Bad baseball. That is bad baseball. That's just not good baseball. Bad baseball.
I mean, I like Tony Manzolino's post-game conference today. My man has some energy. He's like, we just need to get back to 500. These guys know what they're doing. They're good baseball players. They need to get back to 500. That's all we can do. And, you know, it's not a fire sale. It's not trade everybody. This isn't let's tank to get. But first of all, the number 1 pick is in a lottery now. It's not the worst team. So
and Orioles don't got the luck to win the lottery.
No, you're not going to get your number 1 pick. You might get a top 10 pick, but, you know, let's see what happens the rest of May. Give Tony a good month to get his feet wet. And we ain't lost 55 games yet, so 108 wins, baby. 108.
Just win them all straight. Just win them all straight.
We're turning it around. Yeah. And how about that Razorback? How about that Razorback softball team last night, baby? 66 pitch no hitter to start the World Series. Come from behind victory today. So they're 2 up. They need 1 more win to get out the regional. Let's hope they don't blow it. And the baseball team, 2 out of 3 from Tennessee, whooped that orange ass this weekend. So
I love it.
We got the tournament coming up Wednesday in Hoover. So number 2 seed. SEC tournament really doesn't mean much. Let's get 1 or 2 victories and just prepare for the regional. See who we get. Look like East Carolina. Look like they won the Sun Belt. So it doesn't look like Marshall's going to win. But they could go on a run in the tournament, baby.
Who knows?
Herd's going to win the tourney.
Who knows?
And then they get that bid. They win the tourney. They get the bid.
Just got to give them a chance, Joe. Just got to give them a chance. Well, I hope the Hogs are able to.
Did aliens abduct Kevin outside? I
have no clue what happened to Kevin. So we'll try to find him, Joe. Appreciate you calling in, my friend.
But, yeah, that steak was delicious last night, too. So
it looked great. It looked great.
Good 24 hours. Let's just keep it going. And let's get Tony his first win tomorrow. Small victories. Let's get him a win. Got Zach Eflin on the mound. Let's get him a win. Let's get it rolling.
I'm in, Joe. I'm in. And we'll see you after the win tomorrow.
We need the T-shirt. The O's are fine. Let's do it. It's going to get there.
I don't know about that. Joe, we'll catch you tomorrow. Appreciate you. Next up, we got Ray as we're heading through these. Ray, that's a tough one.
We were at Pickles. I met a friend from school. It's 7-0 before we entered the building.
Yeah, escalated quickly.
Look, memories are great. Gibson, I don't care if it's Rogers. I don't care if it's McDermott. Congratulations. You're retired, bro. Go. Good riddance.
Yeah, there's been nothing impressive. Like, at least, like, I'll agree with AJ. Like, at least when Morton pitches, like, there are some pitches where he'd get raked, but every few you were like, oh, okay. Like, okay, you got one there. Like,
Morton,
Gibson just feels like,
oh, that was great.
yeah.
More than innings where you go, that's it.
Yeah.
Gibson, there's been innings where it goes, there's been batters where it's like, that's fine. And then the next pitch ends up in the seats. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Dude, he's throwing 88.
Yeah. It's just, I think that experiment's over. Like, I think, and they're not going to do it because they need, at this point, arms. They just need bodies. They need innings. So they're not going to do it. But I don't know where you do with that spot in the rotation because it's not going to get any better.
Well, and so my thing is, right now it looks like we're going to be sellers, obviously, at the deadline. Yeah. But there is one silver lining as an Orioles fan, and the only bit of my soul that's left, that this year is different than previous years where we've had to sell, where a lot of the problems with this team is fixable. It's not the core that needs to be fixed. It's a lot of the everything else. This team can be fixed in the offseason. If you wanted to make a trade at the deadline where you get you know what I mean? You can buy and sell at the same time. You can buy for the future, get a pitcher. Like if they went and got Mitch Keller or Sonny Gray or someone who's under contract for next year, you're buying for the future without saying we're giving up, we're waving the white flag. But I mean, it's frustrating that if we lose tomorrow, God forbid, but if we lose tomorrow, we would have double the amount of losses as wins.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, that's the unfortunate part of where we are. Ray, starting to get through a few more callers. Appreciate you calling in, my friend. Hopefully tomorrow we can talk after a win. So I'll see you next time, my friend. I'll get you. As we keep it rolling, go wrap up. Hopefully in the next 10 minutes, I got to get out of here. So we got Laura up next. Laura, we didn't get the win. They didn't get the win. O's aren't fine.
Ish. Fine-ish. And they're fine-ish because, like I said, Morton and Perez did have some, good innings there today. Like you said, take away the first inning, we won the game.
Exactly. Little wins.
Jackson Holiday, had a great game today. I really called in because I was trying to make fun of Kevin and his, Sleeping Beauty, but he, decided to bounce on me because he knew I was going to come on here and make fun of him. So.
No way. Perfect timing.
I'm walking back.
Kevin, how are you asleep at like 12 noon on a Saturday?
What he does.
I had to get up at like 8 a.m. after going to bed at like 4:30. So I was exhausted. I wasn't on here when my sleep schedule was 7 p.m. it's like 12 p.m. to 7 p.m.
I mean, Zach literally held up the phone saying Kevin Ostriker ringing and that thing.
I got like 8 missed calls. I saw all of them when I woke up.
I mean, that was the news of the day. It's still the news of the day. I mean, I'm still feeling good about that decision. Even though they didn't win today, again, if it just wasn't for that disastrous first inning, if, Gibby could have, held in there somehow, then again, I think it would have been a good day. So I am seeing some signs of life. So I think we get that win tomorrow. Okay, dog. So
I hope, Laura. I hope if they can get a win tomorrow, at least salvage something. Get Tony his first win.
Correct. And we're 11 and a half games behind the Yankees now.
something not good. Something not good.
I mean, I don't know if we can salvage this season at this point.
I don't know about that.
You know, I mean, we would really just have to go on the most winningest streaks of winningest streaks. You know, I mean, can we win 20 games in a row?
They might have to. They might have to.
I mean, that's what it's going to come down to if we want to try to make any type of push for the playoffs or anything like that. So at this point, I just want the team to, you know, again, under Tony, do well. Not that we necessarily want to keep Tony as the coach, but just to show that Brandon Hyde wasn't it. Or, you know, that you know, he was the reason why the team was not doing well. Although we all know there's other factors in there. But just to show that, okay, look, the team started doing better once Hyde was gone. That's just kind of what I want.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see. I mean, I hope for their sake that they can start putting some wins together so we can also start reacting to some wins. But Laura, appreciate you calling in, and hopefully we can get a win for your birthday tomorrow.
Yes, please.
Hopefully. And Kevin, get some rest.
I got a lot of it, but I need more of it.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Laura,
See you tomorrow.
appreciate you. See you tomorrow. Next up, we got Jake. Jake, what's up?
What's up, boy? Hey, first time caller, long time listener. Love you guys.
Let's go, Jake.
Appreciate you. How we feeling?
Hey, I need a thumbs up if you think that this was Hyde's fault.
Yeah.
Firing Hyde is not going to do anything. Okay. All the players loved Hyde. Everybody loved Hyde. Elias is the guy that signed Morton. He's the guy that signed Gibson. He's the guy that didn't draft pitchers. Okay. He's the guy that decided to draft a bunch of left-handed outfielders, right? He's the guy that decided that my team is good enough right now. I just need Tyler O'Neill. I'm going to give him a 3-year contract. And if he does well after the first year, he's just going to opt out. If he does bad, we have to deal with him for 2 more years. Right? We gave him a 3-year contract with an opt-out after the first year, which means that if he does well, he leaves. If he does bad, he stays, right? Terrible contract. Elias overhyped this team. I hear everybody saying, oh, yeah, we're surrounded by all this talent. Where? Where? We have Gunnar Henderson. Adley's terrible. Okay, Adley's absolutely terrible. Kerstad's lost. Mayo is lost. And Holiday is not ready. He wasn't ready when they were rushing him, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, Elias has a huge ego, and he wants to prove to everybody how smart he is. He don't need to spend money. He don't need to do it like these other teams. Watch how smart I am. I'll draft everybody. Me and Sig got this. No, they don't. They don't. And that's my problem, is that Elias is the problem here. Hyde is the fall guy. He fired Hyde for the fans, so the fans have someone to tar and feather, okay? This is not Hyde's problem. Hyde was the manager of the year. He coached this team to 100 wins. He coached his team to 90 wins. And then we just let it all go to crap because we thought we had the talent. Please, after Gunnar and maybe Westberg, where's the talent?
Yeah, it kind of.
I mean, it is.
Oh, go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
No, it is one of those things.
I don't want to sound hostile, but I just disagree with the notion that firing Hyde is going to do anything.
I don't think it's going to change the season. Yeah, I don't think it's going to change the season at all. Like you said, I mean, the players loved him. You know, Adley was crying afterwards. Gunnar, all these guys. You know, I don't think it was that. You're completely right. He wasn't the one who put them. You know, put this pitching rotation out there. He wasn't the one who, put Tyler O'Neill, who didn't get back Corbin Burns and stuff. So it is, unfortunately, that Hyde was just the scapegoat. You know, he's the guy that everyone else failed. The entire organization failed throughout the past pretty much year. And he had to take the fall for it because it's easiest to fire your manager mid-season. So unfortunately for Hyde, he kind of becomes the, hey, we didn't give you any talent. Sorry. Right. And the talent you do have with Bradish and them is injured.
But if you polled the executives around the league and the other owners around the league and you asked them, who's responsible for the demise of the 2025 Orioles, they're not going to say Hyde, bro.
No.
Well, and
It's Elias. He has failed us. I'm telling you, he did not bring. We got worse. Like last year when we started with Corbin Burns, we were not a World Series team last year. Even with him, if you look at what we had, we realistically were not a World Series team. And now we got worse. We lost a switch-hitted 40 home run guy for a guy that can only hit lefties, right, and plays bad defense. He's hurt all the time. Did you know that Tyler O'Neill only recorded 100 hits one time in his career?
Yeah, he's always
And he's
injured.
the biggest free agent the biggest free agent we signed has tallied 100 hits one time in his career, and he's 29 years old, right? He's fallen off all of the metrics. If you look at all the advanced metrics on O'Neill, he is not the guy. You know, why would Boston let him go if he was this big masher that they could just have off the bench and just do all this? You know what I mean? Like, I think Elias is 100% of the problem. Hyde did a great job. I mean, you got to think, like, you have an understaffed, you have a staff full of who, right? Sagano, that's a surprise, but I'm worried about him down the stretch because in Japan, they pitch once a week. They don't pitch every 5 days. He's 35 years old. We're putting a lot of innings on his arm. I think right now he's going to do well. What's he going to do after the break, though, when we start surmounting some innings on him? I mean, I just don't think that we ever had the talent. Like, I hear we have the talent all the time, but where? Like, who is it?
Yeah, I think they overperformed a lot, too, in the early years.
Yeah.
Kevin, I saw you.
No, I agree. Oh, yeah, like, for instance, we sign guys hoping that they go way past their mean, like their average. Like, we have to sign guys and then perform way better than they're used to doing in order for us to be good. Like, we need to go sign real free agents. We need, like, Max Fried. You see what he's doing? Crochet. We could have made a deal for, any of those guys. We just didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just have a real problem with Hyde taking the fall. I love the guy. So
it has to me. There's the notion that they had to do something, and to your point, Jake. I think to me personally, there were certainly parts of Hyde's game that I was just like, okay, dude, what are you doing here? But we saw in 2023, them ascend with him and them have that great year. First half of 2024, they were awesome, and then obviously the fall off started from there, and then. For Hyde in particular, there's the thing with Elias where I think, if anything, you're talking about a roster where it's like, yes, Hyde has made some tough decisions at times, bullpen, lineup, what have you.
Yeah.
My responses to that would be, one, I don't think it's all Hyde making the lineups. Like, obviously, there's an organizational philosophy, kind of to your point of it just feels like, and this is from Hyde to Elias to everybody. It just feels like their way is the only way. Like, it's their way or the highway.
Right.
There is no in between of full analytics. No, we're going all in on analytics. There's nothing you can tell me about analytics. There's no feel. We're only going on analytics. Right. That's what I feel like it is.
100%. 100%. Like, you got to think like. Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to finish up with, and then it's the matter of what does Hyde have to work with, right? It's what does he have to work with. So to me, I think that this removes, and I think I saw this on social media somewhere, but it removes the shield from Elias of like, okay, now your fall guy option is gone.
Right.
Now it is all on you. Not that it wasn't, but like now there's no guy that you can go back on and say, okay, there's going to be this guy fired before me. It's all on him now. Like this is it. Like, he has to. Whether it's toward the 2025 deadline, the 2025-2026 offseason, like, there is nothing else protecting Elias here. Like, this is his time now. If it still goes badly, he is the next one to go.
Yeah. No, I the other thing too is we rush guys. Everybody's rushed, right? Like, Mayo's not ready to be a major leaguer. Everybody knows that. Like Holiday wasn't ready, not even close when they called him up. And to be honest with you, in the beginning of this year, I wanted him to be in AAA. I didn't want him to be on the team. Like, he's 21. Like, not that matters, but like, he hasn't. Like, Elias always talked about guys, graduating where they were from. Holiday never got into his power in the minor leagues. He never got into his power. He could walk a lot and he had a lot of singles, but that was about it. He never got into himself in AAA. We're expecting him to find himself in the major leagues, right? Like, he's not ready to be a major league player right now. Well, maybe right now, but like in the beginning of the season, and definitely last year, he was not. Mayo is clueless, bro. I'm telling you right now, dude, that guy gets up in the major leagues. He strikes out in 50% of his at bats. Like, he's just not ready. You know, Cowser, I mean, I don't know. I just don't see, other than Gunnar and Adley, the first 2 picks of 2019. Since then, they're huge question marks. All of them are. You know, like, I'm big on Basayo. I'm high on Basayo, and maybe Creed Willems. But, like, other than that, I mean, like, do you really think that, like, what's the one kid's name we took high? He's in Double A right now, the center fielder, left-handed guy.
Left fielder.
We took him in the first round.
Enrique Bradfield.
The Bradfield.
Yeah, Bradfield. No, he's doing great. The guy's hit 1 home run in 500 at bats. You know, or 400. You know what I mean? Like, is he really going to be the guy that's going to, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see Elias doing what he has to do. And the new owner was supposed to bring all this money and this big group and everything. And, like, if I was the new owner of a team that was in this position to win, I would have made a stamp. I would have made a statement and said, we're going to go out and get a guy. We're going to get a Max Fried, right? Like, we're going to get somebody like that. We're going to make a statement. No statements made. We got Tyler O'Neill and Charlie Morton, bro.
Yeah, I think the big thing with the group
you know what
coming
I mean?
in,
Like, we got worse than we did last year. You know, like,
it is true. I mean,
don't
look, there's no doubt about it. The roster this year coming into the season, that's, Zach, I know we both said this, is like, on paper, like, you lose Corbin Burns, you don't replace Corbin, like, you are objectively getting worse. Like, there is no like, question about that, and that's tough.
Right.
So when you make that deal for Corbin and you're saying, okay, like, hey, we competed in 2023, we want to get better in 2024, we're going to go out there and get an ace, that automatically puts the expectations on your team that, hey, it's not like you're going to trade for like 3 Corbins every offseason, but you at least continue that trend of continuing to improve your team, get the guys in the right position. And then now I just think it's going to come down to, can Elias make another move like that? Or is it just going to be him fully going in on the youth, which I think is the wrong decision. Like, you have to have a balance of here of going out there, getting vets, and by vets I do not mean 41-year-olds. Just getting quality vets, right? Getting those guys and making sure that it meshes with the team. Like, that to me is the big thing this next.
Yeah. I just don't know where we go from here, boys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think we're relying too much on guys with no experience, or journeyman type players. Like, you could even argue that, O'Hearn, he's great, but we hide him against lefties, right? Like, like he mashes righties. You know what I mean? We need to go out and get a bona fide Bregman. We should have signed Bregman, somebody like that, right? A legitified, bona fide, major leaguer. Like, but I just worry that Elias is too caught up in his own strategy and his own ego that he wants to show the world how smart he is, and he's just going to rely on his draft picks and make a couple little pieces here and there, and he's going to win. Like, I just don't think that's what's going to happen here. I don't see that. I don't see the talent. Like, in AAA, a lot of these guys did great, but once they get up here in the lights and the fans and stuff, they're just not producing. They're just not it.
Guys are always something. It's always something that happens with youth where sometimes they'll come up initially and struggle. Like with Jackson, like, he comes up, he struggles a ton, he has to go back down, he comes back up, and we've seen that improvement from him. And I think he's playing great right now, and hopefully
he looks great. He looks great. He looks great. He looks great.
So to me, it's about that progression. But then, you mentioned a guy like Mayo, who clearly they just cannot make up their mind on what they want to do with him right now. And it's not good one for his, we talk about how he's struggling, he's looking lost out there sometimes. And part of that is he's being yanked around left and right by this organization of like, you do so much in AAA, but you can't hold a roster spot. And that messes with the young kid's confidence. So in my opinion, that's a prime candidate for a trade. Like, they would have had to trade Heston this offseason, in my opinion, if they did not have a role for him. And, I know the jury's still out on Heston and what he brings to the table consistently, but if you're going to go all in on your youth, that worked for them back in 2023. They were the talk of the league. They won 101 games. Like, they were awesome. but it's not always going to be like that every single season. You have to supplant some of this youth with some veteran talent. And so we saw that move for Corbin the last offseason. That's the type of move I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be that every single year, but if you're only going to go into the year losing an ace and honestly the heart of your clubhouse and Tony, and then not really do anything outside of an O'Neill to replace that, like the Orioles spent money this offseason. I just think they spent it completely in the wrong places. Like it didn't look great when they replaced Tony with Tyler O'Neill in the first place, because you knew he would want to have to stay healthy, which he has largely not done over the course of his career. And two, he'd have to be one of the saviors from a left-handed hitter perspective. And it was a lot to put on his shoulders in the first place. And then you go and sign Sagano and Morton and Gibson and all these guys, and they all have to shoulder, hey, we're coming in after a Corbin Burns. And that's always tough. So your rotation would have to stay fully healthy in the first place to even have a chance. And then Grayson goes down, Eflin goes down, and you're just in a hole. So.
No, 100%. And I hear you guys talk about this at length on the show all the time, is runners in scoring position. I mean, you guys both are – that's like the first thing you guys say. And what I'm saying is we don't have guys that can sit – we don't have guys that can situationally hit. We have one-trick ponies, right? They're either going to walk, they're going to strike out, or they're going to hit a home run. Like, that doesn't play. We don't have the guy that's just going to choke up and get a soft single with a guy on second base. Like, we don't have situational hitters. We have a bunch of mashers, right? And, I just don't see how that goes deep into the playoffs. Another thing, I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to let you guys go. But one of the things I think is the biggest problem is that extra wild card spot, right? It allows teams to dupe their fans into thinking we have a chance. Oh, we made the playoffs, right? Like, I'm just worried that this owner isn't trying to dupe everybody and say, well, we're good enough to make the playoffs, but we're never going to do what it really takes to win it all. As long as we make the playoffs and we have fans engaged until July, August, and September, that's all we want. But I just don't think that they're honestly serious about putting together a World Series team. When you look at the Dodgers, when you look at the Yankees, when you look at even the Cubs, when you look at these teams, can we beat them in a 7-game series? Like, honestly, like even last year, no way.
Right now.
You know what I mean? And like, I love this team. I was, lived in Baltimore my whole life. I'm 43, but I don't know. I'll stop there. I'll let you guys get back to it. But I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. I just don't think this was Hyde's fault at all, and I think it's kind of messed up, that he was the fall guy in all this. Because if you look at what he was managing, if you look at the lineup he put out there every day and the pitchers he had to put out there every day, I just don't think it was his fault. Elias owns 100% of this, in my opinion.
There's always going to be, that fall guy, especially when I think for this team in particular, it seems like Rubenstein has backed Elias multiple times, said, hey, this is his decision. Like, we're going to take a step back and let him do his thing. But on the contrary, Elias backed Hyde, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and now we're here. So I think, Jake, to your point, we're going to see how serious this team is this upcoming offseason. Are they going to retool? Yeah. Maybe they're going to sell off some guys at the deadline, and are they going to make another big move? Or is it going to be, we're going to actually lean into the draft pick angle. We're going to have a high draft pick. We got 2 other guys that are coming in from Corbin and Tony. Like, are they going to lean into the prospects? If they lean into the prospects, then it might be a long journey ahead. And that's tough to say when you have guys like Gunnar and Jackson and guys who are supposed to continue to ascend.
Because you got to think, where did Elias learn? He's a scout. Elias is a scout. True. Right? So his ego is on, don't worry about, we don't need to sign anybody. I got this. Right? And that's what I'm worried about. Is that his ego is overtaking everything. And he's like, we'll just need a little piece here and there, but I'll draft everybody else. And I just don't think that's going to get the job done. That's what I'm worried about. I think he's an egomaniac, and I think that, he has a chip on his shoulder and he wants to show everybody how smart he is, and it's not working for him.
We're going to find out. I think this offseason coming up is going to tell us a lot. Money. Yeah, it's going to tell us a lot about what they want to do.
You got to think about this. Who hired him? Angelos hired him. And what was Angelos' thing? I don't want to spend money, right? So he's the one, like, this new owner might not be on board with that. He's going to get, Hyde went first, but I don't see this new owner. Like he came out and said, I'm an older man. I want to win now. He bought this team when it won 90 some games, and now we're 12 games under 500. Like, he might not put up with Elias's bullcrap much longer either. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because this season, like, you're pretty far in it already. I mean, it's not like you're in July right now, but 14 games under 500 in the middle of May is not a spot you want to be in, especially when you're in White Sox and Rockies conversations instead of Yankees and Padres conversations. So it's tough.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Tough all around. Yeah. But Jake, appreciate you calling in.
Yeah.
Hopefully you call in more. Would love to see you back. So
no, dude, I'm definitely going to. I love you guys, man. I watch it every reaction show. I watch every one, man. You guys are great. Thank you.
Well, good.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
see you back here soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, Jake. Appreciate you. Boom. Love that.
I love when
your
new
favorite
people
thing,
call.
Zach. New Collins. You love it. We love it.
I love when because I
love it.
I love listening to our community every single night. But when new people call and we get new voices, especially after to react to something like this, because it's a big day. Brandon Hyde. I mean, let's be real. It's not every day, especially a team like this with these expectations. You fire a coach on May 7th, a manager on May 17th. So, let's get into our last call. We got Gordon behind the scenes. Gordon.
What's going on?
What's good, Gordon?
Hey, look, it was a loss today, but it seems like we, got to win. It's like it was a good day today. We had fight at the end of the ninth inning, and that's always fun to see, So I'm just, Brandon Hyde is gone. Hopefully that changes things, and, we just continue having a good, feeling of Brandon Hyde being gone, even though it's not his fault, but that means we're being held accountable, so that's just exciting.
Yeah. It's always going to be a balance, especially for these teams. And it's tough because, you could tell how much the guys liked Hyde. And again, I think there's a balance that teams also have to, work between of, you want the manager and the clubhouse to get along. That's honestly the most important thing. But is that guy the right leader to help your team ascend to new heights? And it's difficult because, Hyde wasn't really given a lot this year in terms of upgrades to the roster. So look, am I saying that Hyde was perfect? No, nobody is perfect. There was plenty of decisions that we have questioned over the course of the last calendar year, from bullpen to lineups to whatnot. But this certainly was not 100% his fault. And it feels like, it's some of the messaging that has come along here, which is it's difficult because, Hyde was like, there are a lot of good memories that Brandon Hyde and this Orioles team brought to Baltimore. And, now you're looking at a situation where, Mancelino's not your long-term guy. So there's still like the what's next part of this equation. And for a season where you have to even think about sweeping teams and your schedule is going to get more difficult as the year goes on, the worst thing that this team could do is just do nothing, stay put. Yeah. And I think that you're right, Gordon, where, even if, depending on whatever side you're on the Hyde train, whether you wanted him fired, not wanted him fired, somewhere in the middle, wherever anybody was on that, the move says, okay, we're not content with this, but there are still so many other deep-rooted problems with this team. You're going to have to make a lot more changes, I think, before anything turns around. And, with the year the way it is, maybe something happened 2 weeks ago and there was a big run 2 weeks ago, we'd be having a different conversation, and they were 6 games under instead of 14. Maybe it's different, but we're not. That's not our reality right now. It's an unfortunate situation.
I just wish we let Hyde go earlier in the season, because Hyde has done so much for this team, and I just hate how this is how he. And I hope this isn't how he's going to be remembered, but 9 times out of 10, this is how he's going to be remembered, being fired by the Orioles versus the 101 season wins and then the 94 win seasons, and bringing this team to the playoffs and bringing it out of the depths with the teams that he had. And, even though recently and this year, it just kind of just was too much, but everything in his own is as itself, he was a good manager, but I just wish we let him go and said, hey, we thank you for everything that you've done. And,
it wasn't the right time. He was a good manager for the rebuild. It was not competitive. It was, he did a great job in the dark ages. After that, And then I think, unfortunately, to his biggest demise is that they won 101 games in 23. They went out there and overperformed so much that even a 90 win game win season last year felt like a disappointment. So it's almost felt like they just kept falling back, and it got put on him.
Yeah, and it's not he like I said before, it's the organization and the owners, then it's the GM, then the organization allows the GM to do what he wants to do. The GM allows the manager to coach the team, and then the team is a combination of what the manager does. And Brandon Hyde wasn't given the keys to really succeed. And we had injuries, but nobody cares about injuries because this is the big leagues. But he really wasn't given much to. This team is a downfall from what it was last year, and it just sucks that yes, I was calling for him to get fired, not because of how bad it was, but just to show that somebody needs to be held accountable. So it happened, and I understand we lost today, but I really don't feel like this is going to be the same Orioles, and I feel like there is going to be change that's going to be made, and I'm excited to see what that change is going to be. So, hopefully, tomorrow we'll call in with a win, and Tony Mansolino will get his first win as a manager, and yeah, so it's his start, and that's just what feels good. It seems like it was a start of something different. And instead of just waking up this doing the same thing and looking at Brandon Hyde, being like, oh man, I'm disgusted. And, it's just, but new day, new
New day.
Orioles. So,
New day, new Orioles. Gordon, appreciate you as
yes,
always.
sir.
Hopefully tomorrow we get in after a win.
Yes, yes.
Hopefully.
But you guys be safe. Always love you guys. Like and subscribe to these guys because it's been painful lately. Like and subscribe will always put a smile on somebody's face. So yes, and so you guys be safe.
Appreciate you,
Love
Yeah, we
Gordon.
everybody. So
appreciate you, Gordon. We appreciate you,
Love you
guys.
as well, brother. You be safe.
Yes, sir. All right.
Awesome. Kevin, what an eventful day. Orioles fire Brandon Hyde. Orioles lose 10-6. It was more fun at the beginning when it was like news and then not losing. But it happens.
Yeah, we talk about them making a change for so long, and we both said that doesn't have to be Hyde, just something, and they decide to make it Hyde. But there are still a lot of things this team has to figure out. That was evident today. Moving on from one or two people is not going to magically make you
I
win
hate
every
it for
single
Tim
game.
Cousins, by the way. I hate Tim Cousins getting
It
fired.
was, and it's tough. These guys are humans. They, losing a job is never easy. You never want to wish that on anybody, but it is a business, and you have to do what you think is best. And while I think that honestly, if they were going to fire Hyde, it should have been a package deal. If that was the route they were going to go, that we talked about it. It clearly wasn't going to be that way. It was always going to be Hyde before Elias, and whether you believe that's the right decision or not, it just felt like that's what it was. And we can sit up here and talk about all the weird decisions Brandon Hyde made, but there are a lot of good memories that Brandon Hyde provided Baltimore, as I mentioned earlier. And now the light shines on Mike Elias, right? He is the one where if it does not work out, he is the next one to go. There's no one else you can pin this on to say, okay, we're going to get rid of this guy before Elias. Talk about accountability. You got rid of one guy. There's your accountability. Now, if it doesn't go right, if there's more screw-ups that happen, if the team isn't good again next year, if they can't figure out a way, it's Elias that's next to go. So it's definitely an era of uncertainty, which you told me this, Zach, but if you told me this back in 2023, I'd tell you were crazy. I'd say, what are you talking about? This team's on the up and up. They're going to get the vet pieces in. If you even told me after the Corbin Burns trade, I would have said, what are you talking about? They just got their ace.
It sucks.
But
That's why it sucks even more. It's because we've seen it. We thought it's the expectations. It's the power of expectations.
Yep.
Yeah. Kevin, anything else you got from today?
Nope. Just don't get swept by the Nationals. But you know what? At this point, I just feel like I'm pretty numb to it all.
Yeah, at this point, if they get swept, they get swept.
I can't even describe the emotions I'm feeling, if we're being honest, because obviously I care still. Like, I don't want to come off as I don't care, because I do. I care a lot. But it's just like you see this happen over and over again. You just get used to it. Like, you just get used to the team losing. You get used to the team not performing, or an aspect of the team losing them the game. And it just sucks, because you shouldn't be in this situation when you were supposed to be a contender. And obviously all starts with the offseason, trickles down everywhere. And again, I've classified this as an organizational failure. Front office, coaches, players, in my opinion, everybody has a role to play. And, I think it just stings for everybody, because everybody does care so much. We care, Zach, and everybody who watches and listens to us cares as well. And, I hate to see them going through this, but this is the bed that they have made. Now they have to lay in it. So we'll see.
Exactly. And they just got to deal with it. And it all starts with tomorrow. They have to, you have to start moving in the right direction, one day at a time, because it's not going to start. You can't have long-term goals. You have to go just one day at a time. You really do. And that one day starts with tomorrow, as we have the Nationals. Avoid trying to get swept. Just don't get swept. Don't get swept. And we'll be back here after the game for another edition of Kevin and Zach React. But that's going to do it for us today. Gerardo Parra.
I've been so bad at these recently. I think I'm just getting numb. I'm trying to go through like all the trades that they've made. DL Hall.
I love it. What a way.